Good afternoon and welcome to Saturday Sports Special. It is our weekend edition of TalkSports where we speak with the movers and shakers of sports, the sportsmen, sportswomen, administrators, coaches, what have you want to say involved in sports. Well, this weekend, a very special guest, no stranger to the program and one who always bring lots of information to the sporting public. And our guest this afternoon is no other than the president of the North American, Central American, and Caribbean Athletics Association, Mr. Mike Sands. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Sands.
Good afternoon, Mike. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, and it's, always a pleasure inviting you, and not just inviting you, but you accepting the invitation. Very open indeed is Mr. Sands, and he has always been that sort of person. But we have quite a lot to talk about because it has been a very, not just interesting, but very encouraging, very successful, and I'm certain Mike will be smiling from ear to ear because the NACAC area has been the sort of the backbone, I will say, of global athletics. It has been for a while, continues to be the engine of global athletics. And whether it's the World Athletics, whether it's the Olympic Games, whether it's the Junior Championships, NACAC is well represented. So Mike will be talking about all of that. And in chief, though, will be the Tokyo Olympic Games. Then we had the World Athletics Under-20 Championships. Mike has been, he attended both, so he obviously will share the experience. But Mike, let's start off by kind of summarizing in a way, and as an open segue, NACAC, I mean, by the way, we haven't really completed the entire season because we still have the Pan Am Junior Championships. We still have the ongoing Diamond League and Continental Tours, whatever. But by and large, how it has been for NACAC 2021 in the circumstances of the pandemic.
Well, Mike, we started off very uncertain as to how the season would go, whether or not we'd actually have a season, given the circumstances and the challenges that we were faced with the pandemic. But once we got cracking, or once we got going, when we went like a hurricane, no pun intended, the athletes stepped up to the plate. As you indicated, you can see by their performances that they were all very, very eager to compete. And so the season started off pretty much with a bang, and we're ending it off with a bang. And so I'm really excited to where we have come thus far with our overall performance of the NACAC area athletes.
Mm-hmm. And more so, Mike, the Tokyo Olympic Games, there were so many uncertainties, as you indicated, about that. But as you see, the NACAC area, when I say well represented, but they held their own, as you will say. And I know you'll want to talk a lot about the Bahamas and the double punch, as we would say, in the 400 meters. But overall, the Tokyo Olympics in particular, and then we go into some specifics, Mike.
Well, I think credit must be given to the organizers of the Olympic Games because, as I said, the challenges were many and they were not unsurmountable because obviously we had what we can term a very successful game. The restrictions were very, very challenging, but everyone, for the most part, adhered to the restrictions. And so it was not the usual games as we've known them in the past, where there was freedom of movement and interaction, not to mention, least of all, the absence of spectators. And so all of that lent itself to a very different type of games. But by the performances, you would not have known that they were not the normal games because the performances, I don't know if we can say exceeded expectation, but certainly created the buzz that the whole world is talking about, particularly, and I have to go back again, to our area athletes. And so it was an unusual game to the extent of the circumstances, but the performances made it that much more exciting and based on the challenges.
Mm-hmm. And if we go into some specifics, Mike, the Jamaicans in the female, 1, 2, 3, Bahamas, male and female, the quarter miles. We could also look at Kirani James's performance, battling back from grave disease and all that he went through to be on the podium. A lot for the NACAC area to celebrate.
There's no question about it, Mike. And I was saying there was few of us that were in the stands, including some of our area presidents, and of course the General Secretary Keith Joseph. And so we were able to sit together and observe and enjoy the games. And among ourselves, we'll have our little bets, if you will, as to what was going to happen. I will tell you, when going into specifics, and even on the warm-up track, I said to Teddy McCook, not some Teddy Cook, that's his soul, Warren Blake, I said to him, I said, after I saw, speaking of specifics, after I saw Elaine's semifinal run, I said to Warren, I said, Jamaica is going to go 1, 2, 3, but it's not going to be Shelly Ann. I said, but it's going to go 1, 2, 3. And so said, so done, right? When you look at what the women have done in this Olympic Games in particular, right? It takes me back, and Mike, you remember this, and some other persons I remember too. It took us back to 1976, where NACAC reigned supreme in the 1, the 2, the 4, and the 8. Yeah. But it was the men. Yeah. If you recall, it was Hazley, Donald, Alberto, and Alberto. And now we have the women going straight through. So NACAC has definitely been making its mark for a long, long time. And then you have the 400 for the Bahamas. I mean, how can we not be excited about that in particular? Persons were saying that Jamaica is going to change its area code to 1, 2, 3. Well, persons were saying the Bahamas is going to keep its area code 242. So it was an exciting performance all around. Kirani came back and Kirani fought all the challenges. And he has to be, and not only that, you have to look at his gentleman approach. If you recognize what happened after the 400 itself, and Stevie left it all on the track, couldn't even pick up the flag, Kirani, actually being the gentleman that he is, went over and took the Bahamas flag and draped it around his shoulder. And to me, that was also a very, very significant moment in the sport. Of course, Andre DeGrasse, he came through, and so the whole performance was very, very exciting from start to finish for us that were in the stands, and certainly for the world that was watching, and for our area again in particular.
Do you really think, Mike, that the NACAC area is getting its due respect? I mean, it's global dominance. Even there were questions as to how NACAC will fare in the absence of Usain Bolt, for example, albeit in the men. But do you think that it's getting this sort of respect it's due internationally?
No, I'm not so sure that they really, really appreciate the significance of NACAC and the contribution that it truly makes to the success of the sport. It is said that the Olympics start when track and field starts, and that is very, very true. But it really, really starts when NACAC athletes get to the starting line. And so I think the world stands by and watch. But to your point, Mike, I am really not so sure. And this is why I readily accept invitations to be a part of any show. And it's not about Mike Science. It's about continuing to try to push the brand of NACAC and to let people in the world and everyone understand the significant contribution that the North America, Central America, and the Caribbean Athletic Association's athletes produce to the success of our overall sport. And so that is my goal, to brand or rebrand or to keep NACAC in the face of the sports aficionados, to let them recognize that NACAC produces these athletes. They come from the little small countries like Bermuda, the Bahamas, Grenada, Jamaica. When you compare us to the world and the population of the world and the little small area of NACAC athletes producing the kind of athletes that they produce. So I'm not so sure that the appreciation is there yet. And that is why it is my goal and that of my executives to continue keeping NACAC to the forefront. The athletes do it, and so now we have to tell the story. Yes, other countries will tell the individual stories of their athletes. And so it is my responsibility and that of our executive board and our press corps to tell the story of NACAC. It's not about Mike Science, it's not about an individual country, it's about the NACAC athletes.
Mhm. And Mike, there's so many things that taking place in the NACAC area, and for those, I think in the public eyes, they may just believe at times is just the performances that they're seeing, but behind the scenes, quite a lot is happening. Certain since you took office, you have been ensuring that the engine continues. You wish to share some of those things that have been, taking place, and how NACAC is ensuring that there's continuity and there is something at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, our new administration, we have developed a number of commissions, including a gender leadership group. We have the medical commission. The athletes commission has been established, but we are also providing additional support for the athletes commission. We have a competitions commission, and we have a press commission, as you very well know. These are all part and parcel of creating the NACAC brand and bringing it to the forefront. Those commissions meet on a monthly basis, albeit we have not had a meeting simply because of the Olympic Games and the other events. But we meet on a monthly basis. I sit in along with my general secretary. We sit in on those meetings, and there's planning commissions. We also have a development commission, and so these commissions are working and as a part of our strategic plan that is setting the roadmap for where we want to go with timelines. And this is why we meet on a regular monthly basis so that they can report. And so by extension, once we receive their report, they also make their report to the council. And then when we have our regular monthly meetings of the general membership, and that is the entire membership of NACAC, they make their report as well with the plans that we have in place. We've also had a number of workshops, coaches. We have engaged a competitions director, and I will tell you the competition director is working very furiously with our member federations to ensure that our schedules line up properly. We have the support and working with our big brothers from USATF as well as Athletics Canada. And so we have developed and we have forged those relationships so that we have become all inclusive in the work that we do. So no one in the NACAC family can say that they've not been getting information or not aware of what is happening, because we also produce every Sunday, Monday the latest, we produce a weekly newsletter that is titled This Week in NACAC. So we are very, very inclusive, and we share the information with our members so they can know what we're doing and they can measure us by what we say we will do and by what we are doing and that what we have planned to do.
I know we'll come back to some of those things, but if we can just go on now, Mike, to the World Athletics Under 20 Championships in Nairobi, Kenya. I know you just back from, Kenya. It wasn't, in terms of participation, not many territories participated in it. And for those who participated, their participation was a bit minimal, but of course, the Jamaicans always well represented. But are you satisfied with NACAC's performance at the Under 20 Championships?
Let me put it this way, Mike. The future of our sport is in good hands based on the performances of the junior athletes that participated at the Under 20 Championships. I think we had about 17 of our member federations that would have participated in those championships. I think when we came away with about, 18 medals. I think it was 5 golds, 7 silvers, and 6 bronze medals. I think there were 2 world records that were established, not to mention a number of national records as well as area records. So on the basis of the participation, and bearing in mind that it was very challenging getting there and getting from there, I can tell you because I had an experience that kept us, as you may very well know, kept us over unexpectedly. But our athletes performed exceedingly well. And so when you take into consideration, you don't always measure performances by medals, because we also had a number of finalists. And so when you look down the line and you see what has transpired, and if we as NACAC and the other, and by the way, I must give credit to the coaches throughout our system from the Olympic level straight on down to the junior level, because they're doing an excellent job to produce the athletes. So it's not NACAC that's producing the athletes. We're only telling the story of the athletes that are being produced by our coaches in our area. And so to answer your question, I'm reasonably satisfied because we did not have full participation of the membership, but the memberships that did participate, they gave a real account for themselves. So there's room for improvement, as there always will be, but I'm relatively satisfied.
Mm-hmm. And as you're saying, as you started off by saying too, judging from that, you are not just satisfied, but you think the future is in good hands, judging from the performances of these junior athletes. And we still haven't seen the best of the best as yet from the NACAC region, albeit when things are back to some level of normalcy. We're hoping to see, most of our junior athletes, which bring us into a nice segue, Mike, about, things like the junior Carifta Games and all these sort of activities that were affected to some extent. Let's talk a bit about what we can expect in the NACAC area between now and, the summer of 2022.
Okay, just before we leave that, let me just also indicate that some of the things that we actually have done in terms of competition.
Right, yeah.
We also had the NACAC Under 18, Under 23 Championship in Costa Rica, and that was very well attended by our members. Again, Mike, and this was despite the challenges of COVID, and so I want to publicly commend all of our member federations, particularly those that took the sacrifice and the challenge and the risk, if you will, to participate in the events that took place. And those athletes at what we also did, because our under 20 athletes did not have the opportunity, we added an under 20 division into the under 18 and the 23 championship, and that went off extremely well, which puts us to another thought process in our minds as to whether or not we're gonna, and for discussion, we're gonna look at whether we just make it an under 20, under 18, and under 23 championship. But again, those are things for discussion. And I don't want to leave out Central America, the Cadika grouping, we call them Cadika. They also had their championships, right? And there's still other championship. The age group championship is still planned for Nicaragua in November. But Nicaragua also hosted the Cadika Championship, which is specific to the Central American grouping. So we have been doing the work. The athletes have been participating and competing. And so we want to continue that stream along the restrictions and the protocol of COVID. As it relates to 2022, we are on the drawing board with that. And our competitions director is working with our competitions committee and commission. We are planning our schedule, hoping for normal times. As you very well would have known, we had the NACAC New Life Invitational, which we intend to make the staple of our continental circuit. Our continental circuit, and I can tell you, as I said before, and I will repeat it, it is going to be a reality. And I indicated earlier that with Canada, USATF, and our competitions director, and all the member federations, we are putting together the schedule, and we're looking at events that will form a part of the circuit, where NACAC New Life Invitational will culminate in that. And Mike, the reason we're doing that also, because number one, we see the need for more competition in our area, which is something we committed to doing and something that we will make happen. Number two, we have the athletes, which is the product. Number three, we want to create the environment for them to be able to make a decent payday, because it's also a business for the senior athletes. And also those events will receive points. And so what we're saying from our side is that while Europe is always a good attraction, we're saying let us create sufficient competition on our side of the globe first. And so when our athletes can compete here and get, the prizes may not be as much as the European prize, but certainly the point system we expect to be pretty much equal to, so they can receive their points and their payday. And then when our season on this side is over, they can move to Europe if they so desire. But also there's that second generation of athletes, okay? The next level of athletes that may not be able to get the lane assignments like the top tier gold medalists, what have you not. So there's still room for competition in our area and opportunities in our area for our second tier athletes. And that's gonna be the gist of the circuit come next year.
Oh, well, quite a lot, Mike. I'm wondering how, you know, in terms of the catching up, Mike, because so much is happening and so much anticipating in terms of what will take place. And I know we will have to do a lot of catching up. The public and the spectators in the NACAC area are, you know, longing for competition, longing to be there again, Mike. So, what sort of message do you have for them, those who are listening, and hoping that there will be some level of competition in the region as soon as possible, not just the athletes, but the public as a whole?
Well, the message is that it's what I'm giving them now, that there will be, that we have a tentative schedule ready. It will be produced for public consumption in short order once it's approved by the competition committee and then once it's approved by the council. And so that persons within the sound of my voice and through your support and shows such as yours, we will share the information and we'll invite persons, to be a part of it. If they want to be a part of our mailing list, I'd gladly take their contacts and put them on our mailing list so they will know exactly what is happening. And that's the best way we can get our message out. Because, like I said, we're very, very transparent. And so we want to be transparent, and which causes us to be accountable to our membership. And so all I can say is that the best is yet to come.
Mm-hmm. Well, love to hear that. Well, there have been some comments during the Olympic Games and even, Diamond League, especially when athletes from the region, the area, compete, Mike, and sometimes the sort of respect, as they will say, they get. And I know you spoke about that earlier, but I just seen a comment coming in there saying there needs to be more respect for our athletes in this region, and I think the international sports broadcasters have a part to play. When a station interviewed a person placing last before athletes who won the race, there's a problem there. It sends a bad signal to the brands, the people, and the overall health and respect for our region. Mike, I don't know if you got that sort of feedback because obviously you were in Tokyo, and things like that. So, but again, it comes back to the level of respect for our athletes, for athletes from the NACAC area.
Well, Mike, yeah, unfortunately, in certain circumstances, and you're media, so I don't want to mash your corn, as they would say, right? But, it appears that the media likes sensationalization, okay? We don't always tell the good stories. The good stories, for example, is not on the front page. When you pick up a paper, it's about the negative things that would have happened, whether it was a murder or whether it was a riot or something. And the good stories, where the young people of the world are doing positive things, are hidden in the middle of the back page. And so at the end of the day, the media, have to take a different twist, because all we can do is produce the good stories. And we find a way to tell it, and the way to tell it is through you, the media. And so the media has to take a different approach as to how they report it, because I agree with the writer, right? When you can give more emphasis on someone that had, I guess, almost negative things to say, or if someone come last in the race and you focus on them versus focusing on the individuals that won the race and that is uplifting the sport, that should be the good news. But apparently, the media felt that the good news was to get the negative comments. And it's that's a difficult one for me to try and resolve, other than to plead to the consciousness of the media.
Yeah. Let me break and enter in your forum to congratulate Anderson Peters on winning first place at the Paris Diamond League this morning. Congrats to our son of the soil. Well, Anderson actually threw 85.98 meters to win the javelin throw at the Paris Diamond League. And I think Jamaica was 1-2 in the women's 100 meters. Elaine Thompson and Sherika Jackson, I think 1-2 in the 100. Again, total dominance by the NACAC, because even the 100, I think it was USA, Canada. Again, Mike, it shows that wherever you go, whether it's Diamond League, whether it's Olympic Games, whether it's World Championships, the NACAC area seems to always be the dominant factor. Could you imagine these championships without the NACAC area participating? Could you imagine that, Mike? What it would be like?
I'm thinking, Mike, when you were commenting, I was actually thinking the exact same thing. I'm saying, imagine where these events would be if it were not for the area, our NACAC area athletes. And in the course of discussions, in defense of Jamaica, when I was saying to persons, they say, oh, Jamaica, and they think it just started with the Usain Bolts. But the truth be told, since 1948 in London, the Herb McKinleys of the world, and the Arthur Wind and the George Roden. So we as an area have been making our mark on the athletic field almost from time immemorial. And so again, imagine if it weren't for our athletes, where would the sport be? This is why I am honored to be sitting in this position, and I have committed to doing my best to raise the level of the recognition. The athletes are doing their part. It is up to us now to do our part, to do the best we can to continue to ensure that, number one, they get the recognition and the respect that they deserve and that they earn because of their performances.
Mm-hmm. But in addition to that, Mike, how it is that, how do you think, and I know you're bold enough at times to do it and to ask and to request, that NACAC area could also get its fair share of assistance, or whatever is the quota, because it brings to the table, not just, I wouldn't just say superiority, but it brings competitiveness. It brings everything to global athletics, what global athletics need, okay? But yet for all, it appears for some that NACAC is shortchanged, not just by what that writer says a while ago in terms of the respect, in terms of the interview, the media, etc., but in terms of its assistance and quota of meets and international meets and all these things, Mike.
Well, Mike, there's an old saying that one size doesn't fit all, and I firmly believe in that. But you also have to earn it and sure you get it, right? It's like a job. When you want a raise or increase in benefits, you must show the reason why you deserve that. And so we're working towards that. And I think the athletes are doing exactly that. And again, Mike, you're kind of on the same page as us, but without delving into the specifics, I can tell you that the points you raised are points that we are discussing among ourselves within our executive board, but our athletes are helping make the representation or the presentation that much easier because the performance speaks for themselves. And so one cap cannot continue to fit all.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a hope also, Mike, that your affiliates are buying into the NACAC, the NACAC mission, the NACAC dream. And I guess as much you are the person who is, leading that charge. Do you think that since you became president that your affiliates are on board in terms of fulfilling that mission?
I think they are. I think they are because, as I indicate to you, there's open communication. The performances are speaking for themselves. And we, as an executive board, we meet on a regular basis. There are no stones left unturned. The membership is engaged. The athletes are engaged. Even headquarters with athletics is engaged. And so no stone is left unturned. So at the end of the day, when as they say, push come to shove, as the word goes, right? We're prepared for the push and the shove.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Rudy and Sylvan from Toronto is saying, Mike, as president of NACAC organization family in the past years, you guys have done a wonderful job with track and field. Thank you for keeping it going well. I hope there's lots more to do for the athletes, but it is in the right direction now. Are you getting that feeling, Mike, from the public that they are now appreciating the work of NACAC?
Yes, Mike, I am getting that feeling. And we've opened the Pandora box, if you will. So there's no turning back right now. We've taken a bold step. to do what we're doing and to announce what we're doing. And this is why I said to you earlier, we started something, so we cannot backtrack. We have to continue on the track and the path that we've set, because at the end of the day, were we to backtrack, then we would have failed. And I prefer to look at results. We are results oriented. If you know my General Secretary, Keith Joseph, and if you know other members of our executive board, you will know that we are very aggressive, and we speak our minds, and we provide the opportunities, we present the plan, and we say what we're going to do, and we have to do what we say we will do. So that's our measuring stick.
Okay. Mike, I know you're president of NACAC, and therefore you're speaking on behalf of the NACAC area, but I invite you now because I want you to speak on the Bahamas, which you're from, you're Bahamian, and specifically on that, the performances of your quarter milers in, Sonny Miller, and of course the world. Well, he is the reigning world champion as well. How much it means for the Bahamas, because very rare, and sometimes it happens. I mean, Jamaica would have dominated the sprints with Usain Bolt and Shelly-Ann and others, but for Olympic Games, a small country, the Bahamas, dominating both the 400 meters, men and women. How much that means for the Bahamas and for track and field athletes in the Bahamas who may have been inspired by the performances.
Well, it means a lot. I mean, the Bahamas is a very small nation, and we say small country, great athletes. Stevie and Shanae epitomizes that. As you said, it is not usual that athletes from such a small country will be so dominant. Stevie has continued the tradition of the great quarter milers, if you will, that have come through the Bahamas system. And I like to tell the story about Stevie to the extent that Stevie primarily is from a little small island that is called Moores Island, Moores, in the Abacos. I think the total population may be 600 persons, with 300 of them being school children, right? And so when you put that in its context, and this young man has, and I've had the good fortune of watching Stevie from a little boy when he would come to Nassau to run in the championship in the meets we have in Nassau, right? And he is certainly grown into what he is today by a lot of hard work and determination. And so I am extremely proud of Stevie. As a matter of fact, I think one of the proudest moments in my career, right, about sports administration was being invited to be a presenter for the 400. And I did not know it was going to happen until the morning of, when I was invited to be the presenter for that event. And I'll tell you, standing next to Stevie, knowing what he has gone through and what to get on the podium, right? I was a little choked up in two ways. For him in particular, to be able to stand next to him, and also to hear the Bahamas national anthem played, right? And so I was a little emotional under the mask, if you will, right? And then less than an hour later, thereabouts, for Shanae to come behind and do the exact same thing. I guess you almost have to be in the body or in the environment of the Bahamas to understand what it means to have that flag raised to the world. And when in the national anthem of the Bahamas, there's a part that says, see how the world marks the manner of your bearing. Well, those words came through because here it is, the world is now watching. The world is watching little Bahamas. When I was in Nairobi the other day, and I was telling friends and persons that I met the size of the Bahamas and the population, and when I said that the population of the Bahamas is not 400,000 yet, they refused to believe me, so they had to Google it. So when you put it in perspective, the Bahamas ought to be proud, and those who are not really appreciative ought to get on the bandwagon and recognize that the young athletes in Stevie and Shanae and the other ones that we have that represent the Bahamas, we all should be proud of them and continue to support them to the fullest.
Mm-hmm. And it also tells the story, Mike, is not about this, as you say, and rightly so, is not always about the size of the country and the resources available, but sometimes it's the whole tenacity and how things are done. And the Bahamas and Grenada and other small nations in the NACAC area they have been showing that even with all the resources or the limited resources, they can still fit in on their own in global athletics.
Yes, and the performances of those athletes, whether it's Stevie, Shanae, Shelly Ann, Kirani, we got some young kid in Mexico that's moving up. We have to understand that they are setting the pace. They are providing the incentive and the motivation for the next generation. And this is why I said to you at the beginning of the show, the future of the sport is in good hands. And this is why it is very, very critical for us to have the age group championship, the Kadika age group, the NACAC age group, the Carifta Games, and all of those, because those are the building blocks. And we build the foundation block by block. And the wider we can build the foundation, the higher the peak will be. Remember Karani James and all the Shanae and all the Stevie and all those, they were all Carifta athletes. Some of them were even age group athletes. And so our junior program has to continue to be the foundation for the success of the senior program.
And sometimes people wonder why, they spend so much money on the junior, but that's where the investment is, because it pays off later on. They don't just start running at, or performing at 20 and 25. There's a progression.
And Mike, and you said it, investment.
Yeah.
And I always take the opportunity to say to people, do not look at it as a cost. Look at it as an investment into the future. So don't jump on the bandwagon and want to be on a float parade or be waving the flag after the fact. Help us start mixing the mortar at the beginning. So when we build the building and then we put the flag on the top of the building to celebrate the completion of the building, you know that you would have made your contribution to get us to where we are. And so we are always in need of support. We have these grandiose ideas. Right? And so while we can put them on the table, that's why I'm sharing them openly what the plans are. Okay, the support, we need the support. There's always going to be the financial support from any means possible to help us continue the programs that we have outlined for our young people of the area.
And folks, in case you're wondering, Mike as an administrator, there was Mike as a competitor before. Mike, do you, sit and watch these athletes competing and wonder at times if back then when you were a competitor at both in the Bahamas and at college, the sort of opportunities, facilities, etc., what you would have been like, Mike?
Every now and then, every now and then you get a little flash, right? And it really only happens when we're sort of together in groupings and say, boy, what if scenarios, And so, yeah, I would be less than honest if I didn't say sometimes there's a little flashback and say, boy, wow, it's a business now. It's a business. And back in our day, Mike, someone couldn't even buy you a plane ticket to go home if you want to go home, So running for money was a whole different kettle of fish. And so, yeah, I just sort of flash back at it, but then I have no regrets because you cannot control the past. You have no control over it. And so it's negative energy being wasted, having regrets on something that could have happened. And so what you do is you just move on, move forward, and create the environment and the opportunity for those for the now and the future. So it doesn't hurt because it was what it was in the time, and that's what it is. And so we look up and we move on.
A comment here, Mike. We in the Bahamas are so very proud of you and your achievements in the Bahamas and around the region as president of NACAC and a supporter of our regional athletes. Mike, when you see these things, is carrying the presidency of NACAC a burdensome, task?
Mike, it's heavy as the crown. Okay, it is because there is a level of expectation, and when you promise something, you have to deliver. And so when you say your word is your bond, right? That's all I have. I have my name to live by, and the responsibility that has been entrusted to me, right, with the support of my executive. It's a full-time job. And let me go on record as saying for those that have some doubt, because there are those that are there, and you know me, Mike, I speak it out and out. It is not a salaried position. People need to understand that. There are those that are out there that think that this is some high-paying, falutin job. It is not a salaried position. Okay, so, and that is easily verifiable for those doubters out there. So I do it for the love of the sport. I do it because it's my contribution back to the sport. And I also do it so I can help and guide some of the athletes, okay, to avoid some of the pitfalls that I went into. Because my career was not without controversy, as you and many others may know. But at the end of the day, I'm at the stage in my life now where I am satisfied with what I've accomplished. Well, not totally, but at the end of the day, I have good health, I have good family, I have a function that I perform that I enjoy. I enjoy this immensely. And so I just want to put that on the record. And I will continue to do this for as long as I am capable, but more importantly, for as long as there are those that have the confidence in me to allow me the opportunity to do what I do.
All right. Thank you, Kelisa, for those comments. Mike, I know we spend a lot of time talking about the athletes, but important enough, though, the role of the coaches and administrators. I wanted to deal specifically with the coaches for now. What it is in terms of NACAC and the role of coaches in the development of these athletes, to ensure that just as how we have development programs for the athletes, that we ensure that we continue to produce, coaches of the highest caliber in the NACAC area.
Mike, I'm happy you asked that question because we have just recently appointed a director of coaches and camps. Okay, a young man by the name of Chester Morgan out of St. Vincent. And by the way, it was a process where we put application out to the entire membership seeking person for that position. And we had about 8 to 12 applications. And we whittled down the applications to 3. And the application went to World Athletics. And we had a commission, first of all, and a committee that was set up, that was spearheaded by John Paul. I don't know if you know John Paul Clark, who's director, chairman of our development commission. They vetted the applications. And then we whittled it down to 3. And then the final 3 were interviewed by myself, by the World Athletics director of development. And so we settled on a young man by the name of Chester Morgan out of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And his responsibility is going to do just that, to make sure we harness the coaches, provide support, opportunities for them, and courses. And so he's going to be directly responsible for dealing with our coaches in the system one-on-one. We are also going into the coaching courses and the e-learning program for development for the kids' athletics. And so we are back to basics. And so while we are back to basics, we still have to maintain the level of the higher tier athletes. And so Chester's responsibility is that of the coaching development. So we are putting big emphasis on our coaches and the coaching development. And we have developed a database that we know who all we have in the system and what their qualifications are at this juncture and what they don't have. Chester would be responsible for ensuring through the application process that they get the relevant qualifications that they need or that they desire to move themselves to the next level and by extension our overall program.
Oh, well, yes, quite a bit for those who in the region to look forward to. And Mike, sometimes we think of the NACAC as just Jamaica and the Bahamas, for those of us who common with the phrase of NACAC, but forgetting that the Mexicans are part of the NACAC region, the Cubans are part of the NACAC region, USA and Canada, and so quite a bit for you, Mike, as president of NACAC, to galvanize and to guide to an extent. So that's why I'd asked you about it being burdensome, because it's not just the Bahamas and Jamaica and the few islands in the Caribbean, but the entire NACAC region, north, I shouldn't say south, parts of no, not Central America, Mike?
Well, let me
Yes,
help.
yes, Central America. Yeah.
Yeah, let me help just to put it in perspective, right? What you're speaking about. Again, for those out there, NACAC is North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. That's the United
As
States. That's
as
Canada.
indicated behind you
Right,
with the flags. Yeah.
right, exactly. And that's my backdrop on my wall in
Right.
here.
Yeah.
And if you can see it, what it says is NACAC, and I stole part of the phrase from Jamaica, and it says NACAC, out of many, one NACAC. Okay, and so it's
Out
a
of
flag
many.
of all of the countries that are members. There are 36 member federations of NACAC, from Canada on down to Central America and Mexico, and all the countries in
Oh,
between. And and the executive board is so diverse. It is myself as the president that resides in the Bahamas. Then there's the general secretary, Keith Joseph, that resides in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The vice president is Catherine Jordan out of Barbados. The treasurer is Glenn Jeffers out of St. Kitts and
St.
Nevis,
Kitts. Yeah.
right? And then we have Sidoni Mothersill from the Cayman as a council member. We have Evelyn out of Aruba as also a council member. We had Calixto from Honduras. We had Howard out of Antigua and Barbuda. And so it is a diverse executive board. And so you can imagine the logistics. And this is why I'm saying we keep together, because while COVID would have done some things, it also creates some other opportunities. And that is for us to be able to meet more frequently via Zoom. And so keeping the grouping together is the challenge. And so we work from that perspective, and it's been working very, very well.
Yeah, I realize that because so much taking place, and so much coming up, including Mike, which we're going on to. Nice segue to Oregon 2022, a big year for NACAC in terms of hosting, and for track and field athletes as well. Looking forward to the World Athletic Championships in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, come 2022. Mike, let's talk about that and the responsibility of NACAC as the host area federation for the World Championships.
Well, it's the first time, obviously, that the World Championship will be coming to our shores under the auspices of NACAC, but direct responsibility and auspices of USATF as the member federation and as the host federation. Keith and I, the General Secretary, we had the good fortune of visiting Oregon during the United States Olympic trials, and we had an opportunity to sit very briefly with the president, with the CEO. But there's more meetings that we intend to have very shortly, because also it is our intention as NACAC to have our Congress there during the games. But it's a question of logistics of how do we work it to ensure that there's sufficient time because there will also be meetings with the World Athletics, as you very well know. They will be present as well. And so we're working, and we will be working in tandem with USATF to determine how best NACAC as the area association can be a part of what is happening in terms of us having opportunities to meet and to move among our colleagues from throughout the world.
Mm-hmm. And, World Athletics Championships, and you say first time for the, in the NACAC region, it is a big undertaking, Mike, in terms of the logistics and all that is, coming with it. But looking forward, Mike, what are you hoping in terms of, I know it's a technical, it comes under the technical guidelines and things like that. So, but in terms of performances for the NACAC area, judging from the performances from the Tokyo Olympic Games, how do you think our NACAC area could fare at the World Athletics Championships?
Because it's so close on the heels of this year's performances, I think you will see even more exciting performances. Because when you bear in mind, as I said, the number of medals that we accomplished, but also the number of finalists in particular. When you look at the overall performances of our athletes, and then being in our own backyard, if you will. I mean, it's not gonna be a whole lot of logistics of how do we get there, or overnighting here, or being jet lagged and everything else. We're gonna be home. The advantage is gonna be, they talk about home court advantage. Well, we're gonna have the home court advantage. And so at the end of the day, I am satisfied that the NACAC area athletes in their own backyard are gonna give a very, very good account for themselves at the Oregon World Championships. The execution of the games, as you very well know, Eugene, Oregon is known as Tracktown, USA. And so, we as NACAC don't have any specific role in terms of that operation. But I can tell you the LOC of Eugene, Oregon is so familiar with putting on events. I mean, USA track and field, Olympic trials repeatedly, NCAA championships repeatedly. And so they're using that same model to ensure that these games come off, that the stadium has been renovated. And it's probably the only, to my knowledge, the only track and field stadium for world-class competition of its kind that has been built very, very specifically for track and field, and no other events take place there. So a lot of our athletes are going to be very, very familiar with the environment, which is a big, big factor. And so the home court advantage will come to bear to Oregon 2022.
Right. And Mike, we have just about 10 more minutes. But in terms of the calendar of events for NACAC, I know it's a bit, to some extent, early because, things happen, things develop, and things like that. So, but if you can just give us, I know you mentioned some earlier in the program, but for those who, listening, some of the main events, that we can expect in the NACAC area, probably within the next, 12 to 24 months, some of those main activities in the NACAC area.
Well, Mike, I could have easily read that off to you, but I don't have it in the front of me. But I can tell you what we're putting on our calendar as a staple, as I indicated to you, is the NACAC New Life Invitational that was held in Miramar, Florida, which incidentally exceeded our expectations in terms of participant. We were oversubscribed for some events. So all indications are that it's going to be an annual event, and that's going to be one of the staples. Then we have the other World Athletic Continental Tour, if you will, and that's what we're talking about, infusing our events, because the events will be identified as part of the Continental Tour. So we're building on that. There's the perennial Carifta Games. That is an annual event. We had some challenges with that because of COVID, but that is still on our calendar. And so whenever the next edition is held, it will be the 49th edition. And then we expect that to happen next year. And then also we have the NACAC under 18, and we have the NACAC Open Championship that is also on our calendar. And so we have all of our major events that's on the calendar, and I don't want to dismiss that we do also have our cross country championships and the likes. So the calendar has already been tentatively set, and unfortunately I don't have it in the front of me, as I said, but that's out of memory. I can tell you with a level of certainty that the calendar to 2024, the tentative calendar 2024, is set, but it's a document, it's a working document, and our director of competitions, Michael Suralta, along with his team, continuously update that calendar. But for the next show, I'll be able to print it and share it with you.
Well, and well, for those who may be wondering, you can always go up on a very active website, the athleticsnacac.org.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm certain that it seems as if it's updated regularly. So athleticsnacac.org. No,
Yes.
yeah. I also saw, I was going through it on Friday, yesterday, and I saw there's an attempt for the Caribbean Games again, Mike. Well, at least I saw it on the calendar for the Caribbean Games. Can you shed some light on the progress of that?
I am not totally up to in the loop with that, but I know that there is an attempt to put the games on. There was a date scheduled for it. I think my colleagues in Guadeloupe and the likes are supposed to be the host of it. It has its challenges, and so I don't want to speak out of school, but I know that it's still the hope that this will take place. And from those that are responsible, I would allow them to present more information as to the status of that.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, and then I think Colombia, if I'm not mistaken, may be hosting the World Under 20 Championships. Very very soon. I know it's belated just as the Tokyo Olympic Games, but I think I saw also that Colombia should be hosting the World Under 20 Championships I can't remember. I saw it on the calendar. I just can't remember
Well,
the year.
there's the Junior Pan Am Games. Yeah, there's the Junior Pan Am Games. That is also there's the Pan Am Championships, which is our area, which is really the whole area in the North and South America, which is considered that way. And then there's the Junior Pan Am Games, which is a multi-game. So those are two events that are scheduled to take place for the rest of at the end of the season. So we really have about 3 more events. As I mentioned earlier, we have the NACAC Age Group Championship that is scheduled for Nicaragua in November, and then we have early December, and then we have the Junior Pan Ams, and we have the Junior Pan Am Games. So there's about 3 major events that are on the calendar to close out the season.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. In fact, you have the Pan Am Under-20 Championships in Chile in October, and then you have the Junior Pan Am Games in Colombia in November, well, late November into December, and rightly so. You said in Nicaragua we have the Age Group Championships at the end of November. So quite a lot we can look forward to from our junior athletes, at least, Mike. They're not short of competitions themselves, and certainly, as you indicated, and we'll continue to say, we believe that track and field in the NACAC area in good hands.
Good hands. The future is bright.
Yeah. Mike, just probably 4 minutes remaining. Any final thoughts from you regarding what we have spoken about, the accomplishments, and looking forward to NACAC come 2022?
All I want to say is, like I said, I am honored and humbled by the confidence that has been bestowed upon me by the membership, and I continue to do my endeavor best to serve them. I see myself as a servant leader, and I want to continue doing that because they've entrusted that to me. I made some promises, and obviously they had confidence in what I said that I will do, and I hope that I'm living up to that standard with the support of my executive board, because it is not me, right? It is we. And if it's ever a need for a team, together everyone achieves more, given our makeup and our geographic situation, it is important that we as a team continue working together in the best interest of those that appointed us or elected us to do so. And so I'm committed to continue doing that along with the team that I have around me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to also congratulate you, Mike. I've always on your side and providing the forum, providing the platform, because I believe not just that Mike is a Mike, but I believe in what you have been saying. I've supported your ideas, the ideology in terms of moving NACAC to another level. And I think we are now seeing the results of what you have promised. And it's our hope, Mike, that NACAC continues on that trend and move from strength to strength. And, it's just our wish that as we have seen that our athletes are continuing to excel despite the circumstances, despite the shortfall, despite the constraints, and we believe that if and to some extent, once we're back to some level of normalcy, that we can see quite a bit from the NACAC area.
Well, Mike, I always thank you for your support as well, and thank you for the forum to allow us to tell our story. Because they said, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there to tell the story, the tree didn't fall. And so at the end of the day, we want to tell our story. And again, I want the public at large to understand it is not about Mike, it is about NACAC and the work that we do on behalf of our athletes and our area. So I want to continue to thank you for the support and allowing us the opportunity to share our story.
Thank you very much, Mike. Always a pleasure, and always a pleasure speaking with you. Mike is such that I didn't want to force you into it because I know you'll be traveling. I wasn't even aware until you said it, that so much to go through now, because with all these protocols and what have you, coming from Africa in Nairobi and getting into the Caribbean certainly is not a direct flight. So not that you're leaving Nairobi and you're going into NASA, you will have to different legs and things like that. So it had to give you that sort of rest period. But as you said, Mike, I arrived well rested and ready.
Yeah, it was crazy. Just as a parting word, just to say, right? I was actually at the airport in Nairobi and was turning back because we couldn't enter the United States. So, we had to spend an extra 2 days in Nairobi. But thankfully, and thank God that we're all here safe and sound.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you once
Yeah.
again.
Thank
Okay
you.
then.
Appreciate it.
All
Thank
right
you.
then. Right. Okay. Folks, once again, Mr. Mike Sands, he's the president of the North American, Central American, and Caribbean Athletics Association, be with us, abbreviated program, as you see. I'm coming to you live from Ocean County in New Jersey today. This program goes all over. Last week, we were in Grenada last Thursday. Prior to that, we were in Minneapolis for a while. Today we are in New Jersey, and I'm certain probably next weekend we may be somewhere else again. I'm just trying that. Yeah. Thank you very much once again. And again, congratulations to Anderson Peters winning the javelin event at the Paris Diamond League today. I believe now that Anderson should be in the leader's position in terms of the point standing in the javelin. He continues to be there. Yes, he did not get the medal at the Olympic Games, but as the world champion, he is continuing. And as his coach, Paul Phillips, said, and rightly so, that he believes that Anderson will get into the groove, and he's getting into the groove. I continue to trust him on that. Folks, thank you once again for all those who've been part of this weekend's program. I want to thank you, and the invitation is to join us again on Thursday evening for another in our Talk Sports program. I hope that we'll be able to have another interesting discussion, probably during the week, let you know about it. But for whatever it is, I want to thank you. And let me see. Let me see some comments coming in there. He's okay. Theo, good afternoon to you. Yes, congrats to Anderson. He tied for first place, right? Yeah, so he's there. He's there. So he's coming up. Yeah. Thanks, Rudia. The points in the events, and then they go into the final, and the winner gets the big bounty, as they will say. They get a big bounty. Yeah. So thank you once again. I can't. I was about to leave, but when I see Alana is saying congrats, Mr. Peters, no doubt the congratulations coming in. Mr. Jeremiah, we have to speak sometime in the future. Yes, you have to start sharpening it, boys, because we have lots to talk about. We have so many of our athletes in U.S. colleges now, and those in Jamaica as well. And we have been start doing the rounds, start mobilizing those athletes, start getting the group active again, because we have to keep tabs on what is happening. We know the indoor season coming up soon, and we have to keep tabs in that. Thank you once again, folks. I want you to enjoy what's left of the weekend. Please be safe and whatever, and continue to observe the protocols, right? Especially to our folks in Grenada. It's not nice what we're hearing about that in Grenada. And, I really want for those folks, especially in Grenada, who are listening, it's all for those, whether in North America or wherever in the Caribbean, but I want you to be thing. Michael Sands, it was a great interview. Thank you, Michael. And yes, Jerry, yes, John. Yeah, I think you fully understood. Yeah, yeah. So thank you once again, and hope to be with you on Thursday, God's willing, for another in our Talk Sports program. Cheers.